poll there has been for some considerable time has shown an enormous lead for the Labour Party in the rest of the United Kingdom, and that by it's kind of margin of 40 to 20 against the Conservatives across the United Kingdom. Here in Scotland, however, there's a hotly contested election between the Labour Party and the SNP. And
well, you say that, Mr. Swinney, we're very wary about going off polls at the BBC, but numerous polls over a number of weeks have been suggesting that the SNP stands to lose a substantial number of seats in this election. But also, interestingly, if we're looking at polls, that support for independence is holding at 50-50. So what does that tell you about what people think about the SNP's record?
Well, what it means is that the SNP's got work to do to command the support of people who support independence. And what I would say to people who want Scotland to be an independent country is that it'll not come about by voting for any other party than the SNP.
I'm stating the obvious, but you've been in power for 17 years.
Well, and I'm kind of stating.
So what more work is there to do?
And I'm kind of stating the obvious back to UK that if anybody wants independence and they want independence to come about, it's
but
not
what the polls are saying is 50-50 do want independence, but going off the polls, which you're so convinced by in terms of a Labour victory being a sure thing, you're going to lose a load of seats.
Well, I'm simply saying.
So maybe they don't think you're the person to deliver independence.
Well, I've been in office for 8 weeks, and I've been strengthening the SNP's opinion poll position since I came into office, and I'm simply saying to voters who want Scotland to be independent that it won't come about by any other mechanism than giving a resounding vote to the Scottish National Party, and that's how we'll get independence, by the SNP being strong and able to give the political leadership to the delivery of independence within Scotland.
And what about the 50% of people, and again we're going on polls, which we really shouldn't, we have to be careful, but you kind of said that you do have faith in the polls. And I know a lot of people have tackled you on this, and they've said to you, you have said, well, if you get a majority of seats in this election, the Scottish seats, then that will be a mandate for independence. And then you have been questioned on that. Well, what if you don't? Does that mean that people don't want independence? And you've said, well, no, we go back to the 2021 mandate, so we won't rehearse that again. But what do people have to do to tell you that they don't want independence? Well, because you have been accused of, heads you win, tails you lose.
Well, what I think people should have the choice to do is to decide whether they want Scotland to be an independent country. And in 2021, we were told to go away and get a parliamentary majority in favour of an independence referendum if we wanted to demonstrate support for independence. And we went away and we got that. And that parliamentary majority exists today. And I simply want it to be respected, so that the people of Scotland who elected the Scottish Parliament in 2021 gave it a majority in support of a referendum on independence should have the opportunity to now see that delivered.
So if you lose a stack of seats in this general election coming up on Thursday, it means nothing about independence?
Well, what it means is that I want the democratic views of the people of Scotland to be
But it means nothing. So the result on Thursday means nothing about independence.
Well, wait a minute, Kate. We're not going to get very far if we're just, if you're just interrupting me all the time.
Well, that's all these leaders' debates I've seen. That seems to be the way to do it.
Well, I think it's pretty purposeless, to be honest. I don't think the public like it. I think the public are fed up with the constant interruptions. So let me just set out my view. You asked me a question, which was, how do people express their view about independence? And I think they should express that in a referendum, because if I go back to 2014, we were told if you vote no in the referendum, you'll be protecting your EU membership. We're out of the EU against our wishes. That's a big change in our circumstances. And I think people in Scotland should be able to exercise their view on the question of independence in an open referendum. And that's always been my view.